How did I get uneven here?
It's
Oh,
our
here we go. 5. Oh, wow. I have to not do that, though. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about this misnomer. I think it's a misnomer, but we're going to talk about it. Oh, Cece, please put that back. Do women only want rich men?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a misnomer, but we're going to talk about it. Put it back, Cece, please. Thank you. Please welcome you all to the new streamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, TV and Internet Singles Podcast. This is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
Yes. Today, we're going to talk about, do women only want to date rich men?
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling Barry that I took a poll with both my male and female clients.
Mm-hmm.
And what both of them talked about is women frequently put in their profiles, they want somebody who's financially stable.
Yeah.
And men are frustrated when women keep saying they want somebody financially stable because they have no idea what that means. So when I ask the women, what does that mean? They're like, oh, I guess I should think about what that means. So what it came down to generally was they wanted the man to be able to pay their own way at least, which is really a nice minimum requirement. But I said, say that. If that's what you really want, then say that. Because what I said is if you say financially stable, that could really mean basically they pay their bills every week or every month. You know, they can buy groceries, they can buy gas for their car, they can pay rent at a cheap place. I mean, really, if financially stable doesn't mean much of anything. It just means they pay minimal of the minimal. They make minimum payments on this huge credit card debt. I mean, it's not very helpful, right? I didn't think so.
I would definitely agree, although going back to the title for a second, because about women and date rich men, is also, I mean, the flip side we'll talk about another time. I know we've already got in the pipeline for another talk, which is the other side. So just be clear, not just one side only. But in this context, speaking about women only dating rich men, it's more than just financial stability. It's like financial prosperity, financial success, because there's this rule or this belief that women want a man who can take care of everything they want. So your survey showed that's not true. But also, I would say there's something more important than that. And this is the big reveal, so to speak. But it's something I've had a conversation. I was in a group discussion with some other leaders a couple of weeks ago. We talked about this idea about this. And so the truth is, what women really want is a man they can trust, because trustworthiness can translate to financial stability, whereas financial stability doesn't always translate to trust. Just to be clear. And so the idea about someone who's trustworthy is a value, definitely. And a woman who can count on a man to be honorable, to keep his word, to be trustworthy that way, for most women is way more important than a man being financially solid. Because, for example, in 2008, when the financial crash happened, a lot of men who were financially stable right up until that moment suddenly weren't anymore. And there were quite a lot of divorces at that time, because some women and some men too had this illusion that the money was the only thing that made it work, and without the money they couldn't make it work. And so I'm a bit of a crusader for the idea that it's about trustworthiness more than anything else, because that's really what it comes down to. Is a woman wants a man she can feel safe with and she can trust, which isn't just money. Yes, it's nice to have the money, but it's more about the integrity. It's about the security that they feel with that man, because that's the other part of it. It's not financial security, it's security in itself, which can feel like you can trust the man you're with to take care of you emotionally, to take care of you physically, yes, but to take care of you so that you feel like you can do what you want to do.
Yep. I will also say that's such a good point, that out loud, that rich is in the eye of the beholder.
Yes.
So if you're only talking about money rich, I know people who live kind of modestly and they feel financially rich. Mm-hmm. You know, they can pay their bills, they put money away for a vacation, they put money away for retirement. They would say that they feel rich financially. All the other emotional, spiritual stuff, they feel rich as well. But if we're just going to sit in this conversation at this moment about financially rich, they would say, I coached a woman a long time ago who had a very specific bank account amount that a man had to have, a status, that when she went out to dinner, there was very specific restaurants and $400 bottle of wine, and we put it in her profile, and she eventually met somebody that was fine with him. So there was a different criteria of what her idea of the word rich meant.
Right.
So I think that's the part of it too, that when you say rich, what does that mean to you? It's still the financially stable. What does it mean to you when you write out, if you're just thinking money,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm going to say is a little shallow. and she and I had that conversation because I said, what other things would you like this man to have? Because there might be. I was such a new baby coach, and it was such an interesting conversation to have with somebody because that was really her highest priority.
Yeah.
Okay. It's eye-opening to me to think, okay, if this is really your highest priority, then let's go for it. And really, but be clear about why you have this priority and what it includes. Be really clear about what are you bringing? What are you trading? You know, if you want to be with somebody that probably has a really high status job, has high status people that he's going to hang out with, that you're going to entertain these people, do you match all that? Do you have the clothes? Do you have the manners? Do you have that education? Can you carry on a conversation with people like that? Do you have the ways of entertaining people like that? I mean, really, can you travel like that? Do you speak multiple languages? I mean, there really is some criteria to qualify for somebody that you're saying you want them to have this status. And that was a very interesting conversation to have as well. So when you say this is what you want them to have, we've talked about this before, but not quite in this way.
Right.
What are you bringing to the table as well? I love how you're smiling at this because it's really important, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's so true that there's this, how to say this in a nice way, innocent look at lots of money. I was going to use a different word, but innocent is a safe word to use. That having someone who got lots of money is perfect without realizing what that goes with that. And the thing is also what the downside of this, and I've noticed about children of rich families. So I've seen it happen so many times with clients of mine who were children of rich families, where money became the solution for everything. So to be with someone who's very rich, they may see through the lens that money fixes everything and nothing else is needed. So there's no emotional quotient there. There's no sense of trust and safety available. It's just like, okay, well, check that, done. Well, that can work, but it's so limiting in what's available in a relationship. If you want to be a truly healthy relationship, if money's the only thing in it, it's missing a lot of the picture. So absolutely having an understanding of what you really want in a relationship is the values of what you want, not the valuable, but the values, so to speak. And then start building from there, because yes, the rich part has sometimes a heavier price to pay, using the same language, than the benefits. So you've got to be really careful what you're looking for.
Yes. So one of the things in my conversations, because it was so interesting to direct the conversation, I said, I want to talk about all the things that my clients want to talk about. And then could we also just have this aside conversation? Because they all want to know often, what is our topic this week? It's been fun. So, okay, this is what we're talking about. Is it okay if I asked you about this? And the men and women were equally fascinated to talk about. So when you think about this, especially for the women, it also, the topic was side by side of the protect, that part of was the financial, was it came up with the height conversation that we women want somebody that's taller, because it just feels like if you're taller than me, you're automatically going to be stronger. And I have mentioned a couple of times that I've dated two men since I was single way back in the 80s. I dated one, and then since Tony died, I dated a second that were quite a bit shorter than me, that, oh my God, there was nothing. They were so masculine and so strong. I felt nothing about how their height. I felt very protected, and they were very masculine. It was wild because I'd always dated really tall people. So, but I see how we women have that part about the money part, that they could get us out of trouble or protect us, as well as provide financial security and provide, a big, safer house, or provide nicer things for us. Now, yes, there are gold digger people that there can't be anything nice enough for them, and they can only be the nicest stuff. This conversation isn't generally going to be about them. That's a different person, because generally we're talking, they don't listen to this, I'm sure. The people we're talking to I can't imagine why they'd ever come and talk to us, except for that one person a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
That people who come and say that to us, it usually is because they don't want to have to pay for the man. They've got their own, women over 50, they've got their own retirement, or they're getting ready to retire. They've put away money, or they have money from their divorce or their deceased husband, and they don't want to share that with somebody else. They want the other person to have their own money. And
Yeah.
I think that is very important, because you would have trouble looking up to a man that hasn't gotten himself to a place where he could pay his own bills and take himself on a vacation together.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, treat you to dinners when you're on vacation, or buy you a present while you're on vacation. I mean, we like that. We really do. So that it's an option for us to buy you something. So I think that sometimes Rich gets mushed up into that we just want to know, do you make a little more than us? Do you have a little more than us? I think a lot of us want to be assured of that.
Yeah.
Just enough the same is good. A little bit more, you're a little bit stronger than us. You're a little bit more, got a little bit more money, a little more status. I think that helps a lot of women feel more secure, that you're providing a little bit more. I think when it comes down to the bottom line, in my survey, the men said, I don't mind if a woman makes more than me, as long as I can provide something she allows me to or can't for herself. They really wanted that. And the women said the same thing. If there's something else that he can give me that I allow him to, or I can't do myself. They both independently with me agreed to that. What do you think about that as the guy?
Well, I'll just share a little story of my own first, just to sort of illustrate a different position. I met someone through a dating app. She's going like God, several years ago now, where I was in a bit of a financial challenge myself, wasn't doing so well. But we got together and didn't say anything about it, and we were very flirtatious. I mean, she was very hot. We had very flirtatious, very great time. We're going to go somewhere else to have dinner. And on the way there, I realized I wasn't as fluid in my bank account as I thought I was. So, check my balance on my phone. So we got there sitting there for dinner, and I said, it's like, just need to let you know ahead of time, is that I can only cover part of the dinner. I can't pay for the whole thing. And it was like I dropped a bomb on her. There was no even, okay, we'll figure this out. Or, so I said, like, I'll take care of it later, sort of thing, because basically the check was waiting for, I hadn't arrived yet. But the feeling of the bottom dropped out was such a painful experience. That's one reason I really got clear about that we as men, to answer your question in this sense, have to be a certain level of self-responsibility and ability to take care of certain things. Just to date was such a black and white picture for me. I was like, I could not ignore that once. That's never heard it from her again. And the reality is, I know, looking back with 20 minds, as much as I enjoyed how physically attracted we were to each other, her consciousness wasn't anywhere near the level I wanted to play with anyway. So not to justify that I was right in not having it, but it was the feeling of, it wouldn't have worked out ultimately anyway. It would have been fun fling and it would have been great, but it wouldn't have lasted very long. However, that moment was a pivot point for me to go, yes, I know that my role as a man has requirements for it. That even though she probably was more of a, I won't say gold digger, but she was definitely looking to be more taken care of than I was able to do. And frankly, at the level we were playing at, even if I had the money, I probably wouldn't want to take care of it to that level anyway. But it was one of those pictures where I just got exposed in a way that I wasn't expecting and got to feel that experience. So that was a raw experience for me.
You're always so lovely about being transparent, Barry. There's so few men that would come on a whole podcast that's watched by lots of people and say that past experience.
Too.
And it's so good for women to hear
mm-hmm.
the effect that we have on you. And, the women that go, oh, I'm not like that. And I'm here to say most of us are, not to quite the extreme. And most of us are in our DNA. As I said, the two men that I've dated that were a lot shorter,
Mm-hmm.
I balanced. Could they protect me? Absolutely. I had no trouble going out with them because I felt if anything happened, they could take care of me. That was huge to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to decide if I didn't feel that way, could I have still got out with them? I know I thought about it though. And I don't apologize for it at all, because I know that's a priority for me.
Yeah.
And I will admit that there's times I've gone out with guys that were bigger than me, and I did think about it and wondered, could they have? Because they had kind of a soft personality. And I thought, I might have to be the person to do something about this. Isn't that interesting?
Very
Because
good.
I think it's just in our DNA. So I think the financial side as well is just built into us. Because for a long time, really, I mean, in the world, women didn't have money, couldn't touch the money, couldn't have it. My mom, when she was a young girl, could not have had a credit card. She was lucky that when she was of an age to have a credit card, it had happened that women could have a credit card, but that's how new it was.
I think it was 1971.
Huh?
I think it was 1971 when women had credit cards on their own the first time. It's not that long ago.
Yeah, not that long ago at all.
Yeah.
So it's really new that we had a chance to really handle our own money. Before we were given allowances, the man had. So it still lives inside of us that you have control and that we need to, well, how do you handle it? And do you have money to give us? And would you take our money? And how will that happen? And so I'm okay that we think that. But I want us to be logical about it. And I want us to think about what does financially stable mean? When everybody and their second cousin with female hormones inside of them writes this in their profile, and how confusing it is for men, and how I would like every woman to really gauge, what is it that you really mean by that? What is it that you would really require from a man? Where on the scale are you actually in what you expect for a man to have in his retirement and his bank account? The other day, I was talking to somebody, and he was saying how he'd lost his house in his divorce, but he has tons of money in the bank. He has a great retirement, but a woman wouldn't go out with him because he didn't own a house. I said, well, then she's not for you. But that was her criteria.
Yeah. So we'll speak a lot more about criteria when we come out from the break. But before we do that, you want to do a quick intro of your offering?
Thanks for keeping track of the time for us, Barry. You're so good at that. So, wow, if this is an intriguing title to you and a subject that you have dealt with, whether you're a man or a woman, I'd be so happy to talk to you. And one of the ways to talk to me is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the homepage and click on the questionnaire, what's holding you back from love. It will have 10 questions of where you are and where you'd like to be. And that will send you to my calendar, and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me at your convenience. And you can also send me an email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how do people contact you, Barry?
Well, similar to Christine, I have a website, and you can get in touch with me that way too. So my website is my name, barryselby.com. And at the top of my homepage of my screen is a button you can tap on to get on my calendar. So you click on the Let's Chat button, takes you to my calendar, we schedule a time, and then you fill out the questionnaire that I have, a little different from Christine's. And we schedule a 20-minute conversation where basically you ask questions, I ask questions, and we see if we want to work together or not. Because to be honest, I don't take everybody as a client, and you may not want to work with me. So we find out. It's very black and white, very simple. If you want to send me an email, you can email me at barry@barryselby.com, and all the rest of the stuff we'll talk about when we get to the end of the show. So we're going to take a break in a moment.
Yes, we're going to take a break with our two wonderful sponsors. One of them is the National Widowers Organization, and also the wonderful station that broadcasts our podcast. And we'll be right back after our two short sponsor breaks.
See you in a moment.
The National Widowers Organization is a men's grief network. Our website serves as a virtual toolbox of free resources for men coping with the death of a loved one, whether a spouse, parent, a child, or lifelong friend. Our goal is to bring men together and arm them with as much information as possible to get through a devastating time in their lives. The NWO has a team of bereavement specialists and fellow widowers to help support you. You are not alone. For more info, go to nationalwidowers.org.
Thank you again to our two wonderful sponsors. And today on Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry, we're talking about, do women only want rich men?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a lot about, what does rich mean to you? And certainly in the financial arena, I've certainly talked to lots of women that financially, it was all over the map.
Mm-hmm.
Have you experienced that with your female clients, Barry?
I've got clients, I have friends too, female friends, who basically were more well off than most of the men they dated because they did so well for themselves. And so there's a certain level of that. And I said earlier in the show about being trustworthy and those things too, where it's not necessarily about the money in the bank account. And so having a woman, I know a couple in particular who are, well into 6-7 figures in their businesses, they have their own homes, and so they don't want to give that up for a partner. So actually they date men who are more independent, more free-flowing, who don't have those attachments. Yes, they may have money, but maybe not as much as they do. But because they come from an equal footing consciously, speaking about trustworthiness and integrity and those sort of things, they have a connection that works transcendent of the money that's in the bank. And that's the thing is nowadays, like you're saying before the break, about how long it was before women had their own autonomy around money and their own freedom to have what they want. And I know it's like 1971 when women could get their own credit cards without having to their husband's signature or permission. So many women could become independently wealthy. So that was something that changed, say, less than 70 years ago. So there's many women nowadays who have found their own way through business, through life, through what they've done, even through divorce, where they have their own self-sufficiency. For example, just an example up there, like Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. I forgot her name off somewhere, but she basically has been giving away billions of dollars because she has so much money in the settlement that she gives money away to other places. There's not many men that can make more money than she does. So how does she date? She has to date somebody who has less money than her. So there's going to be, and that's obviously an extreme example, but there are many women out there who are in fact financially secure and doing very well for themselves, where that's not a priority. And so the old-fashioned paradigm of women need to date rich men, even for them, doesn't resonate anymore the way it used to.
Yeah, and the point that you continue to make, that I continue to hear from my clients especially, is so much of, if we go to the other part of the richness of the men that they want to date, is that what they say is what they do.
Yeah.
That their words and actions match across the board. That they say honorable things and then they continue to do honorable things. That who they seem to be is who they turn out to be. Mm-hmm. And that is what adds to the richness, the value, the valuableness of who this man becomes to them. And part of it is not just the amount of money they have. Part of it is how they spend it. So when you talked about the wives or even the guys who, do they give back? How do they give their money? Do they volunteer their time? Do they volunteer their money? How do they use it to benefit the world, their community, the people around them, their little community, their state, their country, the world? How do they make other things that they're associated with richer because of the things that they do with their money and their time and their energy? Because I know, as Alison Armstrong has taught us all, guys are very clear about the return on your investment of your time, energy, and money. So when you watch a man, how he uses not only just his money, but his time and his energy and how he actually spends it, and what he values to do it with, that will tell you a lot about him and
Mhm.
whether or not you like the way he's giving it out and what he's getting back for it. That you would decide, does that feel rich to you? Does that feel like he's a valuable man? And that it's not just what he says he does, but you keep watching what he does. And that's
Right.
what's really fun to watch the relationships develop with my female clients when they talk about, he said that he does this, and then I watch that he does that over time. And I love that you smile, because there's so many women that don't notice. But when I point it out to them and then they start noticing, it's really nice for you guys to get acknowledged, because you don't run around bragging about it. It's just nice if we women start noticing.
No, if we're bragging, we're in trouble.
'Cause it's not your way.
No. No, the thing is, it is so true that and I said before the break about, like with the monetary crash in 2008, money, when it's in the bank and it's set up a certain thing, it isn't secure necessarily as you think it is. So basing a relationship on that alone is a risky job. It's likely to be safe, yes, but no guarantees. But to be with somebody whose actions, whose way of being is one you can rely on and can be trustworthy, that tends to be much more rock solid. And so the quality of life you have with this person, through thick and thin, through good and bad, and through rich and poor even, that whole thing in the wedding vows, which is another conversation, is basically that we are able to enjoy a relationship that isn't impacted by other external circumstances changing. And it's an interesting dance. And again, this has changed over the years. I mean, it used to be not that long ago where women would be impressed by the car the guy drove because it made it look rich. But so many men got cars where they're living in their mother's basements that wasn't a workable solution either. So that actually happened a couple of times with guys who looked so flash, so together. And I was thinking, damn, they got money. It's like, no, they're mortgaged up to the hilt for the car and they're living in the basement of the house they grew up in. That's not the same thing. So there are definitely presentations that don't match the reality. So I'm not saying you want to do your own certain private investigation has secured to figure out how much money they have. But if that's your pursuit, maybe I'll look at things differently.
It's really smart. I dated a guy quite a long time ago for a little over a year. And the first time he picked me up was in this, I thought was a really fun muscle car, but he was in the process of fixing it up and painting it. So it had all this primer paint on it, and it wasn't, done all the way. Yeah. And I just was like, wow. And it had roomy kind of engine, and we went out to dinner. It was really fun. So the next time he picked me up in his Porsche, which was equally fun, all beautiful. I mean, totally decked out. And he made a comment about, I always pick everybody up on the first date in my muscle car because I don't want them to, decide that they like me because of my Porsche. I said, well, okay. I said, but I like the muscle car. That was just fine. But I like the Porsche too. I guess I passed the test, but that was really, so yeah, he had a great job and he had money, but it was interesting that he did that on purpose because people, women could judge just that he drove a Porsche. But he did rent an apartment, but I didn't care about that either. Well, he said, I don't want to buy a house till I know what I'm going to do with myself. He was fine renting a very nice apartment, but I didn't care either. He said, yeah, some women had cared about that too.
That is the thing that some people do want, and I'm saying people in general, because not just men, but people oftentimes will hide their financial wealth as much as they'll hide their financial lack. It's like it has its pluses and minuses, and so frankly, a lot of people who live to show off their financial wherewithal aren't the one you want to be around anyway, generally, because they're so two-dimensional that way. They don't have any depth to them. So in a way, having a man who's like that is actually more attractive because he's really about wanting to know who the person is, not what they look like or what they present. And that's the biggest shift for a lot of people is, and I'm talking about this a lot with my clients recently, about what is it you really want? And is that something attainable, or is it something you just have an illusion about? Because some of these things, like having rich men, is really an illusion about something else you really want. You want a man who can take care of you, but that thing is that taking care of you isn't necessarily taking care of you by jetting up to the sun, to the sun-soaked beaches of Italy. It might be a man who can take care of you when you emotionally feel secure. Yeah. It could be that simple.
Also, I thought, I'm going to bring up this challenge of a man who is very wealthy, because I've known women that were with them. Part of the thrill for the man is making the money, and they work a lot.
Yeah.
because they think it's really fun. They like working. The thrill is to make the next million or billion. And if you're the kind like me, I like getting a lot of attention. I like spending a lot of time with them. They're not my guy.
Not available. Yeah.
No. I mean, they'll buy you lots of things and occasionally they take you on great vacations. You're going to spend a lot of time with your girlfriends. And really, if that's your thing, that's your guy. But I like having dinner with them a lot. And I like cuddling on the couch a lot. So if you have to really think about what is the balance for you? And is it okay? Do you need that much money? And is it okay to have that less time? Because it really can be that and then do you want that aggressive, assertive? And I'm not making any bones about that's not a good person. It's just not my person.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's the key. And so you've said it clearly that knowing what you want that you can have is key. And yes, it's adjusting your needs to fit somebody else's picture that you think that you want. It's not the reality. It's a poor choice indeed. And the thing, money's an interesting period anyway. Money in consciousness, if we get spiritual for a second, is one of these really interesting things because money is something that we put so much weight on. Yet it is so changeable, so transitory. It's not very solid, and frankly, the money we have is a representation anyway. It's not really a functional thing. It's a piece of paper. If you had gold bullion in the safe, that's a different story. But in terms of money, it's an interesting thing, and it moves quickly. And so, you want someone who's rich. If their money's tied up somewhere where they can't access it because it's in securities or it's in shares and something they can't take the money out, or it's in crypto even they can't take money out, or like you said, that they are so devoted to making money that they're never available for you, what's the relationship you're going to have with them? And so I agree that for me, because one of my primary love languages is quality time, I want to have time with the person I'm with. And so I want to be available for that and want them to be available as well. So any money that's being made has to be made either on its own without my being present or in a way that I don't need to spend all my time focusing on it because that makes me think of a person that isn't very interesting. So that's something that I would say anybody watching this, male or female, we talked about this before on the shows many times as well, is to really spend time getting clear about what you really want in the relationship as the qualities you want to experience, the common things you value with that person. Like you were saying, being with a person you could spend cutting up on the couch and watching movies or having dinner with, that's a priority. It's got to be on your list, and that may go against the image of the rich person you think you want to have.
Yeah, because the challenge that I've heard is they were okay in the beginning and now they want them to be different. And I said, but this is who they were from the beginning. You liked the accoutrements and now you want them to be a different person. And it's their adrenaline rush. You keep saying they're shallow. No, this is who they are. And it makes them happy. They're not shallow. This is what floats their boat. Shopping floats your boat. Making money floats their boat. It's hard. It's hard on people when you don't say, oh, this is who they really are from the beginning.
Yeah.
You don't like saying, oh, this is who they are after the fact. They don't like that conversation when they have them, but this is who they are. This is who they were in the beginning, and they're still that person.
Yeah, it's such a clear indication is that we tend also, a trap we fall into is we tend to take people at face value. And so we think that's the way they're going to be the whole way through. And oftentimes it's first impression that we take on, which is not accurate. So get to know the person first to know what's really about. And again, back to the list we talked about many times before on previous shows. That's feedback. If you realize that when you met this person, you had certain presumptions, and when you found out they were this instead, that qualification needs to go on your list so you can refine your list even further to what you really want. Because yes, I guess, well, let me say it this way. To answer the question of the title, do women only want rich men? The answer is going to be clear, no. I'm saying as a general rule, do women only want rich men? No. Some do, yes. But in terms of what we talked about in the show so far and what we're talking about really is there's a spectrum involved. And also some women who have the focus of wanting to date rich men may want to change their views or reconsider their views after what we've been sharing so far. So this is a question I'll put out to the audience who are watching. Is that something that's really important to you? Let us know in the comments after the show, or reach out to us if you want to find out more about that too. But I want to make sure that's inserted, because sometimes we talk to people and they don't necessarily have a chance to respond to us. And I want to say, please respond to that question.
It's a great question, because a lot of times it really is a perspective question. And this is definitely a perspective question.
Yeah.
If you do, why? And if you want some, why? And if you went, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way, why? What did it open up for you? What other perspective did you get? What would you like that includes the rich word? And what other words would you include now that we've talked about it for 35 minutes? I mean, that would be the really fun perspective conversation to have, don't you think?
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's our goal with all of our podcasts, is to open your mind to, oh, I hadn't thought about it quite that way. Oh, that is our goal every day, all day long, right, Barry?
Absolutely, to evoke response, to evoke consideration, to have you think about what we talked about. That's a win for us.
Yep. That's the biggest win we could ever have.
Yep.
Think about it a different way, an additional way, a broader way, or even come back and go, you are so wrong. We'd be okay with that too. Tell us why we're wrong. We're okay with that.
Yep. Tell us.
We'd be so fine with that. Tell us why we're so full of beans.
Yes, indeed.
And I have to say, Christine didn't bring up sex in the thing, but I have to bring up the word because one of my clients waits for me to say it and I didn't. So I have to say it.
That'll be another show, I'm sure, but definitely, yes. You've got to bring it up once in a while.
So if this was intriguing and you want to tell us that we're wrong, you can reach out to us because we both offer a complimentary conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So the way to reach me is through my website. As I mentioned, go to www.theperfectcatch.com, scroll to the middle of the homepage and click on the questionnaire, what's holding you back from love, and schedule a complimentary conversation with me at your convenience. And while you're on that homepage, you can scroll to the bottom and you'll see all my social media of Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Pinterest. And if you go to the YouTube, which is the farthest to the right, you can see over 250 YouTubes that Barry and I have done of podcasts of very interesting dating and relationship, interesting topics.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can also join my mailing list, that you'll get a repeat of this podcast in your mailbox every week and also find out what's going on with me. And if you go to the very top of my website and click on the ebook, you can download a book for free with dating advice. And I just would love for you to tell me what you thought about. Was there some helpful things? Is there something you'd like me to include in my 2.0 book? And then you could also send me an email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how do people get a hold of you, Barry?
Well, like I said at the break, at the beginning, I have my website, is my name, barryselby.com. And at the top of the screen, as I mentioned, there's a button to click on to get on my calendar, and we have a conversation, we want to work together, etc. Also on the homepage, there are two other things. At the bottom of the screen is an option to jump into my email list, which is very straightforward. Put your name and email in there, and you get my weekly emails, which includes a replay of this show, was other things I'm working on. I'll talk about that afterwards. So I'm just resequencing my head what we'll talk about. In the middle of the screen is a quiz that I created for relationship readiness. And basically, if you click on that, it's really a perspective to see whether or not you're ready for a relationship, you know what it is or not. That you can click on the button when you go to barryselby.com/quiz. There's a second one, which is the self-quiz, which is either, if you're watching the video, you see at the bottom is the thing says self-quiz. That is a self-relationship assessment. Basically, how's your relationship with yourself? Because most of my work is with clients to navigate how to be better partners, to attract a better partner. So the question is not so much what you're looking for out there, but what do you bring in here? And that's why I talk about the self-quiz. So take the self-quiz. Again, you can't get to that from the actual web page directly. Sorry, you can't get to it from the homepage, but if you go to barryselby.com/self-quiz, or one word, that'll give you a chance to get to the quiz. There's a downloadable PDF you get with that and a bunch of other information. And either the quiz or the self-quiz, you can reach out to me afterwards and get some help, because I suspect the quiz will provoke or evoke or inspire some questions for you about where you are and where you want to go. That's why I do the quizzes. My book's on my homepage as well. Sorry, my website as well. You can find it in navigation, or you go to barryselby.com/book. There is a nice little 12, 13 minute audio review of my book done by AI, which sounds very real. So definitely enjoy that. And you get my book through that. And you can find me on social media under my name, which is Barry Selby, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, on Blue Sky. And then on Instagram, also on YouTube, of course, because YouTube I have all these shows plus about 1,000 other videos. If you want to watch a lot of videos about work, love, and relationships, I've got 1,500 videos on my website. That'll keep you busy for a few days. But also on Instagram and Threads, it's The Real Barry Selby. That account got changed. So you find me all over the place, and definitely follow me and reach out to either one of us or watch on social media. We are very busy people, and we do a lot of talks and navigation. Oh, I think I want to add on the PS. Other things I'm working on. I had, as I mentioned, my emotional freedom experience that I did back in July. I had an epiphany 2 days ago that the title wasn't landing for me or for my audience. So it's now called Emotional Sovereignty, which is a much more powerful, profound title, because reality is what it is. It gives you back mastery of your own emotional state through some 4-week class. So if you want to find more about that, send me an email at barryselby.com and I'll tell you all the details. Phew, that's enough of that.
So if you'd like to watch us live, we are live in California on the West Coast at 1 o'clock Pacific and at 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between. And then you can watch us on a replay, our faces on Roku and on YouTube, but you could take us with you and just listen, right, Perry?
Yes, indeed. Our show is now wonderfully put out on all the audio platforms as a podcast. Hence the name we call it podcast whilst we're doing video. It's very confusing. But if you go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, your favorite podcast platforms, and look for Let's Talk Dating Show with Christy and Barry, you'll find our podcast there, and you listen to them shows back to back to back if you want to go them when you're driving or shopping or anything else you're doing in your life where you can want to have it in your pocket with your earbuds in listening to our show. We can give you good advice, and even when you're getting ready for your first date, listen to one of our shows and get you prepped will be a great way to start the show. So yeah, listen to us, take us with you. And as I said at the Twins Show, feel free to comment, respond to us, let us know your thoughts. Definitely subscribe and like us as well.
And share us with your friends who are struggling with their dating and relationships.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll be back next week with another fun subject about dating and relationships.
We'll see you then. Bye for now.